Hi everyone, welcome to Yasumi, my tech YouTube channel, your one-stop shop for all the tech trends from mastering the latest gadgets to navigating the ever-changing digital landscape. Are you a tech enthusiast who wants to stay ahead of the curve? Or maybe you are just starting out and feeling a little overwhelmed. No worries, I'm here to help you all. And today our topic will be based on agile methodologies. Are you navigating the exciting world of Agile? Whether you are a seasoned Agile practitioner or just starting your transformation journey, this will help you to grow. I'm pretty sure. So, if buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive into the exciting world of technology together. So, today I'll be connecting with Malene Marie. She's the director of Board of Directors in Scrum Alliance and also an enterprise agile coach and trainer. She's also an international speaker. So let's move and see what today's conversation will be. For accepting my invitation with your tough time schedule in the weekdays and weekends. And yeah, thank you very much. Being one of the what we call enterprise agile coach and a speaker, international speaker, and also as the director of board of directors at Scrum Alliance, I would like to welcome you to my today's discussion. With huge thanks, Malik. Uh, as we start our discussion, can you tell about yourself first? What are you doing? What about this agile coaching and all? Brief introduction about your background and what your current role is.
Yes. That was actually a lot of questions, eh? So a bit of background. I am I am educated as a software engineer, but very quickly, actually, so I love the people aspect of it more than actually coding. So I have, yeah, I'd like to say I have fulfilled all Scrum accountabilities as a developer on a Scrum team, a product owner, and a Scrum master. And the last 8, 10 years, I've been focusing on being an agile coach. And yeah, being now an enterprise agile coach, helping big companies transform into agile, and also a CST, certified Scrum trainer. So yeah, I think I like to say my passion is to help people find their passion and challenge companies to make the space for people to drive.
Okay. So, with the experience, let's move on to the topic Agile. So, scaling Agile across companies should be a challenging due to the structures in different companies on all. So, what are the best practices you have seen or you are implementing to break down these current uh, things they have and to fostering the collaboration in the companies?
It's a not an easy answer to that one, right? Because it's such a big question. I like to
Mm.
always put it into two buckets of like doing agile and being agile. Because what we often have seen over the years is people tend to be good at the doing aspect, and maybe not even good at it, but I think they're good at it, right? That's where they implement, like, or they have the daily scrum in the morning. They have maybe a Kanban board. I can see you already smile, right? Because you probably like it's like a checkbox. It becomes like a checkbox, right? Like, do we have this now? Do we do even if you want safe, right? The PI planning, all of this, it become very much a checkbox activity for big enterprises. But if we move more over in the being agile aspect of it, that's where it's tough and where many companies lacking. Um, so the challenge I see, there's many challenges, but the one that pops up in my head is actually the mix between them, because big enterprise often want to see result immediately. But if you focus on the being aspects, like have to change the mindset, and here we talk about cultures in big enterprises, that doesn't just happen overnight. And as many like change in general is such a big topic by itself, right? And people are saying you can't change people. How do we then actually make them agile? And again, if we work in big enterprise, they want to see results right now. And then it's so easy to just jump over into the doing. But in my experience, if we just do the doing, it doesn't make an impact. That's like we've seen it over, even the whole agile estate theme, right, stems from company have done way too much doing and don't get results of it because they're actually just changing some tools they're using rather than changing the mindset of how they're working. And that's where the bigger challenge. Does that kind of give you a? Should, if anything, we should elaborate more on. I think you want some practice, like where do you actually start, or what do you actually do? For me to have success in a big enterprise, you actually have to combine the two because they can't stand alone. If you walk in as a consultant, as a permanent anything, you have to show, as an agile coach, you have to show some results. And then we come into the topic saying, how do you show value as an agile coach? It's a difficult topic again, right? It is by showing something. You have to make some changes. And then you say, again, back to, but can you change people? Well, the doing aspect of it is simple to show some results quickly, but it's not sustainable. So what I like to do is actually combine two. We work on the doing aspect, establish changing something, the way we work, while we work on the culture. Culture and mindset is much more long-term aspect, but you have to have a focus on both of them parallel. Is that?
Got it. Sounds good, Malene. So actually, when we work in the companies, we explore and work with the tools like Jira to manage the dependencies. So we have team members across different locations, and some comes to the office, some work from home. So what tools or frameworks have you found effective, and what you will suggest to the audience in your practice as an agile coach?
Oh, that's such a good question because again, we jump in, right? Jira, I have also worked a lot with Jira. And again, over in the doing pocket. But I actually want to challenge the people saying, why are you using the tool? Because the challenge we're facing is saying, again, in doing aspect, it's become very much forced. So I see in the big enterprise, big enterprise one consistent, right? We can't have one team using this tool, another team using this one. You want one tool. So the company I recently worked for was like saying, at a big enterprise, you actually want a consolidated view on how everything's going. There we also implemented Jira because you want that view. The big mistake, we even also went into it, is saying we have to use Jira for the sake of it. So if you roll it out saying, here in this company, we're using this tool, here you go. Then people feel forced, and it's actually become much more a micromanaging tool. So I often see that pitfall with Jira. Jira is a bloody good tool, can do many, many things, but it often becomes forced on people, and then people get this. It's forced on me micromanaging. I don't know if you've also been part of a team, right? I have to stand every morning and say, move your tickets. What is the value in that? I miss that people ask, what is the value in it? If it doesn't bring value to you, then why do it? That's actually like the main reason in Agile, right? Like we will only do stuff that adds value. But again, we see big enterprises implement all these tools and all these like stand-ups. I actually like, if I go into teams, the first thing I ask them is like, does stand-up add value to you? If the answer is no, which it often is, I say, let's try to cancel them. And people say, no, we can't because we're Agile. But where in Agile does it say you have to stand up? So for me, it's always back to, does it add value? I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I need a team or a company to understand the value of why they're doing it. So it becomes, we want to do it. So let's go back to Jira, because Jira is a good tool. But again, if you force it on them, it's become micromanaging. Jira can very quickly become micromanaging. I want to know what you do every hour, and as soon as you've done something, you have to move it into the next block, right? It doesn't become more micromanaging and then that.
Yeah.
What can we then do? Well, why are you using Jira? The sales pitch around it. Oh, it is because we would like to see where stuff is going. We can all agree on that. We have to deliver. Everybody has to. That's why we're here, right? In the big enterprise, if the company doesn't deliver, in any company, if company doesn't deliver whatever they need to deliver, there is no job for you. So we need to focus on that and sell then the value of it. We want to be aware of where we are so we can have an overview of it. Okay, what does that mean to the team? And then let them empower them to choose how they want to use a tool like Jira. Do we want to update it constantly? What's the value of that? Do we just update it once a week? What's the value of that? Also, even a conversation, what I've seen in many enterprises, they still have their project managers that need to report in, right? Make a report. I see a smile, right? Because it's all. So instead of like being, as a project manager, I see project manager come in and saying, you have to update Jira. But why? Can you please keep Jira updated so I can create the report? Can you see now it comes, oh, you need the data for this. That story is often lacking. Because if a human person know why they need to do something, they're actually more likely to do it instead of being forced. And that creates value in it. So this is like, again, it can become a very big topic, but let me try to simplify it. Any tool is a good tool. It's a matter of why you're doing it, and that the people be self-managed to choose how they use the tool. It can be that a project manager, for example, has to kind of force it on them, but tell the story then as a project manager or even a Scrum Master. Why do we use this tool? What is the benefit? How can we optimize it for it to work for us?
Yeah, so I am also working as a business analyst lead and Scrum Master's role. I have to play that sometimes the dual pay roles of the Scrum Master, project manager. So if we can, sometimes I also feel like why we use the stand up and we have to have the retros, all those things, Scrum ceremonies we are conducting. But if we don't do that, we can't track the progress. We can't get the visualizations. Where even the product managers, they can't get the whether we are streamlined into the correct way. Why we have to go to like that. So yeah, as you told, we have to understand the reason why we are using it and then do those things. Thank you very much,
Can I
Malene.
jump
So
in there? I just want to say something
yeah,
because you actually highlight a big challenge where that's what many enterprise or company in general has the challenge because they haven't changed the way they work, which meaning they implement a framework like Scrum, having a project manager / Scrum Master. They want the project manager to report every day, right? Where are we? And that's where we use stand up to then report. That's doing where we have lacked all the values of agile. Because what does it actually say? Well, you should actually let your team run in a sprint, right? And that's given to them how they want to work, empower them to do it. And that's the way the mindset and culture in big enterprise needs to change. Like we don't need to know every day where we're tackling. We need to trust our people, right? That's one of the agile principles, even trust the people to do their work. If we would start changing the culture of actually trusting the people, saying, I actually only need in the end of a sprint, then can you then see like the framework, the tools we use cannot stand alone without the principles, the being of it, because they go hand in hand. But many people forget that. And that's where it becomes the old way of working in a new framework. Sorry, I get
yeah,
passionate because I think like there's so many small things that actually does that it fails for enterprises to go the agile route.
hmm. Yeah. So as an enterprise agile coach, um, so they usually plays a crucial role in this cultural change and adding values to the company projects and all. So what are the qualities do you think are important for to be an agile coach, and also what kind of extraordinary coaching skills you feel like an employee should have to become an agile coach?
Let's start. So there's many questions in one there. Let's start with what skills you should have as an agile coach.
Mm.
Um, high EQ, like understand people and understand the complexity, and actually also a business understanding. Um, I myself struggle a little with actually the word agile coaching because I think many people put too much emphasis sometimes on the coaching aspect of it. Um, and I think, yes, we know sustainable change come from coaching, but let's also sometimes be realistic and be out in a big enterprise. You have to show results. Like you can't always wait. So have awareness. Like I would like to see more coaches have the understanding what's the difference on consulting and coaching. And and dig deeper into that and understand how to switch between them. So of course there's the Agile coaching wheel where you can go in and see exactly the skill set, what a coach need. For me, and what I think is part of my success is understanding people, listen to people. The big challenge when you walk into an enterprise is often the politics. Be aware, especially in big, it takes time. It does take time. Nothing can happen overnight. And that's the challenge, because people want to say result yesterday, right? Why could we not change it yesterday? Have a roadmap. So what I like I use the Scrum framework, or some of it even in my coaching aspect, which meaning many people say like, oh, if you're agile, you don't plan, but you do plan. You plan to replan, right? I like that. Like, set some goal for yourself. Where would you actually move this? What is the challenge you're facing? So it's not to always guide them, and that's where the consulting/coaching comes over, right? Sometimes you need to know when you walk into the coaching hat or the consultant's hat. Sometimes they need guidance, other times they need to be listened to and empower their self-growth. You have to see that, the difference between that, and not just come in as a consultant and tell everything.
Yeah. And also, as you told about challenges, can I know you, based on your experience, what kind of challenges you faced in this process while implementing Agile, and also how did you overcome those challenges?
I assume you just want me to choose one. There's always challenges, right? I think one of the big challenges in general we face as enterprise agile coaches is actually the challenge of who are we in a big enterprise. And let me elaborate on that. If you walk into a company that hasn't become agile yet, you will see departments that, like, an area that is in charge of culture. You will see a department of HR people. You will see a department of change agents. You will see a department of learning people. You will see finance, right? And what I often face is actually this whole question, like, who do you think you are? Not said out loudly, but what I mean by that is coming in with Agile hat. Agile touched on all of those roles. Actually, Agile, right, touches on the whole company. Well, we want to be Agile. It is mainly the culture that needs to change. I've heard colleague of mine that got told saying, "You're not a change agent." But what are we then? You're not allowed to touch the culture. But how are we then becoming Agile? How can you be an expert in learning? Like, there's a lot of these. Like, how can you be so much when like, if you, I love to put myself into their shoes sometimes, saying, let's picture we have a elderly lady that's been working 35 years for this company in a specific position, right? Let's say she's running the culture department. Imagine her shoes and sit now. This certain agile coaches coming in. Who do they think they are, right? Who do they think they know everything? And that's a challenge I've faced many times. The way I like to deal with this is breathing. That sounds simple, hey? No, I actually just shared how I actually handle it. Is, let me put myself into their shoe. Because where does their afraidness come from? How can we? And that's again the empathy and understanding other people, right? Like, we need to work with these people. I'm not saying here I come. So the sentence I used multiple times when I come in a new place is actually saying, I'm not the expert in your field, but I'm expert in Agile. So we need to work together to turn this ship around. A reference there to a good book to read. And that's actually the main idea, saying, like, people have baggage, people have experience, acknowledge that and walk with them instead of against them.
Okay.
It does take time, and it's not easy.
That understanding people is the main thing when we implement Agile practices and all. So when we have different types of people, different types of departments, as you told, we can have sales, HR, all those things. So what kind of strategies you used to cultivate culture of learning and innovation. I'm asking this as a follow-up question to what you told now.
So can you elaborate a little bit on that, the question?
Yeah. So, what kind of strategies you use in, like, when we are implementing agile into a place where there are different departments, so that they can have the learning and innovation part? What strategies you will implement as an agile coach?
Into these areas, there's always two aspects of it. To look at it, something is if you have an enterprise that need to become agile, each area also need to become agile, but there's also some, let's call them principles, we need to create for the company. And what I mean by that, if we look, and that's actually where it becomes challenging. Like I'm not saying, well, I would say it's easy, but nothing is easy. But like we used to transform IT teams and all of that. Right? That kind of follows the book. Now we have all these teams that doesn't fit into the shoe. And that's where you need to be creative. And I don't like that everybody should fit into a shoe, right? That's become too micromanaging again. We need to actually create. So I like like the Scrum says, right? We create the rule of the game, but you kind of can be using it the way it fits to you. So we set up some guidance on how to work. Again, I am driven by the values and principles of Agile. I'm driven by Agile frameworks, but I also look at a company. What do they need, and what do they? Yeah, how would they work? How do they work? You can't just come in with I see some have this the Agile Bible saying this is the way you should work. And that is to force somebody into a shoe that they might not fit. You have to be transparent. You have to be agile actually in your implementation. That's also why I don't have the same strategy for everywhere, because it depends on the area. It depends. So what I like to do is actually observing first. Where is the low-hanging fruit? Because again, if you walk into a big company, you need to show some result, which means you have to look at, okay, where is some low-hanging fruit we can change quickly? And that's where that game plan of mine come in place, right? That can change. So I have a plan, but it can change depending on how we go on the journey. So like you plan your road through the Google map, right? But suddenly there was a roadblock. Oh, let's now change the plan. That's often my strategy, and be flexible on that. So don't be married and say we have to do these things. What I like to do, maybe to give the first step to be more concrete, I like to put the rules to the game in place to start with. It takes time to actually understand and give some rules, like many use the word playbook, right? How would we play off? What rules do we have here? Don't write all rules down, but some we can follow here. Where do we start? And you document that and help. I used to do like different meetings with different stakeholders to update them, take them along the journey, figure out who is actually a change agent in the company to help you drive this change.
Okay. So, and when you do this agile transformation to big companies, how can we measure the success of this agile transformation?
I'm tempted to say I've never seen a success. No. No, why I'm saying the challenge with big enterprise is no. I want to. You need how to solve it is you need to get leadership to determine what will success look like, because what are you measured against before you actually start? What are we trying to achieve? So that actually also answers a little bit into your previous question about strategy, right? Like it's always about what would success look like. The whole conversation about that before we even start, because why are we doing this? That's actually often also my first question into enterprise. It's like, why are we doing this? Because if you're becoming agile for the sake of agile, I don't want to be part of it. Sorry to say, there must be something we want to achieve, because that can then help guide the roadmap. If we're trying to change, does it have an impact on that? So I can't say here saying like, this is the three things that would make it a success, because it depends on the company. What do they want to achieve? and put that in place. It could be, to give some example, it could be like the most famous one is faster to market, right? My next question would then be, how do we know we got faster to market? Because it's easy to put some, if we develop something, right, to put some crap code out there and be faster to market. What would it look like? Like, we need to get more details. I don't like the fluffy stuff saying like, no, we need to be, the fast to market is such a good idea, because I'm like, yeah, but what does that look like? And then you could be very quick to market, but it could be very bad quality. So have those conversations. Really, that's where the OKRs come in, right? Understanding what's our objective here. How would we measure success? And again, but I also find a bit enterprise, they like to make big strategy and goals for years, right? And then they married to them. Now we should actually reflect constantly, again, be agile even with our goals, saying, is this the right goal and is it the right thing we measure? So what big enterprise does as a mistake is putting these measurements in place, and then in the end they measure them, and they just, did we make it or not? Yeah, but do we measure the value of it? Was it the right thing to measure? So we need to measure the measurement, right? To understand, was it still the right thing? Because you could have, again, send something out to market, but it could be the wrong thing. But if you then just use it, well, but we were fast to market. Yeah, but they didn't use it. So it's quite like, it's some big topics here that could like nearly use a whole hour on explaining. I hope it adds value and it does make some sense with the short answer I'm trying to give.
Yeah, so let's talk about some things about the technical agility. So while some technical debts are inevitable, so usually we implement code reviews to minimize it. How do you balance the need for speed with managing technical debt effectively in an agile environment? With your experience, currently working, you can, if you can tell.
It's actually been a while since I worked with technical teams. Back in the days, I actually, so I like simplicity. Hey, again, one of the agile principle, right? And I like that. So I remember in one team, what we did was simply a scorecard kind of thing, where it was become like, we had like, I think it was from 1 to 5. And where we would put in, and we had actually written out saying, okay, if this is most important, so it's actually priority-wise, like how do we score? Like everything cannot be important. And then it's collaborative between the whole team of saying, what would the impact be, right? What would the long-term impact be? And is it worth it? And that's a conversation with your product owner. So you can't, as a team, just make, a Scrum Master even, that's a bad, Scrum Master shouldn't make that decision. That's where you need an awesome product owner that can understand the consequence of the decision that is made. I had a thought now, and now I lost what I want to say. What I think sometimes when I've seen in team, and you have to be careful not to find that, to not use the time to have this conversation, because people are so, I've seen like some, I could say many bad words, but I'll try not to. Like, you have this micromanager standing there, for example, in daily stand-up, saying the daily stand-up should only be 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Shorten, we can take the conversation afterwards. And that actually sometimes break good conversations. So now maybe going down to a rabbit hole, but I think this is important. Where the Scrum framework is being used as a time, like it should only take this long. Like I try to guide Scrum Master, even agile coaches, saying it's an idea of how long it should take. Instead of breaking and saying like, no, you've gone over 15 minutes, don't have this conversation, we should take it offline. I hear that so often that something in me gets upset. I like to say to people, saying, have the conversation. And then you as a Scrum Master afterwards will have to think about, why was it took longer? What in the way we work need to change so it shouldn't take longer in the future? Being in the swing of saying the alarm clock is going off, now you can't talk anymore, has never added any value. So sorry, I jumped a little bit down there, but what I actually, let's go back to your original question, saying, how do you manage? I want people to actually talk more. And then saying, oh, that's waste of time. No, because it's about the collaboration. I think many teams have forgotten how to work collaborative. And that's again a whole topic by itself. We have many big topics here.
Yeah.
That's actually one that I work a lot when I work with teams. Actually, how do we collaborate? Because often it becomes this individual working in silos, forced into a Scrum team, and I don't actually collaborate. So, a question to answer your question, there's many techniques to help with it, but one of the things is actually let them collaborate to understand the value of the decision they make. It could also, I actually have a little fun game I've tried to before. Um, I actually printed out fake money and gave everybody money. And then saying, if you had to pay with your own money, which one would you do? That as a facilitation technique can help in saying, if you had to use your own money, then you are more want to use your money wisely. Many people don't have the same relationship to company money, right? But as a product owner, you need to create that relationship and be like, it's my own money I invest. What decision would I then make? That's a good little trick to actually, is it the right decision we're making here?
Yeah.
Did it give some tips?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask about uh, since you told about the Scrum ceremony stand-ups and all, how can we make these daily stand-up meetings more effective and engaging for the team? As you told, it should not be a micromanaging thing or like something like we the team gets hesitated and like that. So, what tips you would recommend we can apply?
Thanks for that question. It's actually a good question because it's actually I get actually often that question. And actually, I want to, sorry to now tear down the question a little bit, but I think it shows the how we should not look at it, because you use the word, how can we engage the team, right? We very much have a mindset of the Scrum Master need to go in there and make the team engaged. That for me is like, that was not the intent of the Scrum framework. The intent is actually, the intent of the Scrum framework was that they want to. And not like every Scrum Master I train, I always ask, like, how many of your team actually want to have a daily Scrum? Nobody says, yay! And that's sad, because that's actually what it should be. So let's look into the anti-pattern. Again, it's come back to this. We've seen it so many times. A project manager, something saying now or a company saying we need to do agile. They say put in the Scrum framework where it's checkbox. Do we stand up in the morning? We haven't changed the way we work, which meaning the project manager still need a daily update. Now we use the daily Scrum for that. That was not the intent of the daily Scrum. So I want to I'm trying to keep it short. Again, it's actually back to the missing of collaboration between the team. So keep it short. If we look at a Scrum framework, right? Team work in a sprint. Let's for easy calculation now make it 2 weeks. Now, if they learn how to actually collaborate, they will in the sprint planning come up with a sprint goal they should achieve as a team. It's not about you do this task, I do that task, I do this task. No. It's about what value should be added in the sprints. Many teams doesn't do that. Many teams are like, yeah, sprint goal is something like this, but you do this, you do that, you do it. It's a plan divided out into individual, right? So when we go and start our work, I sit down in my desk, put my headphones on and start coding, for example, if we have a technical team. I might go for lunch with my colleagues, but it's nearly the only time I talk with them. Sorry, I mean, make it a bit stereotypical here. That was not how it was intended to be. Like coding, I know it for myself. I'm a developer myself, right? Saying like, you can put on your headphones, go down, you write code, delete, 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 code, delete, 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 code. Let's debug it. It works. I don't know why it works. Oh, it doesn't work. Okay, let me try to figure out what. It's actually just a big guessing game until you cross your finger it works, right? The thing is, there is I don't know where it comes from, but I see the challenge in many developers nowadays. That's how they do it. They develop code. They sit like this instead of what I like to call engineering. So I was an engineer where we got taught to like think about things before we coding. I simplify it now. That's why I'm saying we need more talk before we code. Can we have like, I miss to see developer going up on a whiteboard, draw the ideas together to find out the solution before they code. Because if we would start teaching the developer to actually start, that was how back in the days they coded, right? So it's actually just going back to actually collaborate and work together. They will together work on a solution. That brings me back to the daily scrum. Sorry, this was a bit of, because if we were actually working together, let's say you and me, we have been standing up at a whiteboard discussing, okay, the database should look like this, and they, okay, blah, blah, blah. You would say, I'll go and develop this part. Can you do that? You see how we actually collaborate on delivering something. Every day, we then go together and say, where are we? What should we help? Maybe let me give a different metaphor that I actually often use in my training. I like to look at it as a startup. If you and me start a new company, we have a deadline tonight. We have to show something off. In the morning, we'll quickly align with each other. Like, oh, I'm working on this. Can you work on that? Okay, yes, blah, blah. We'll just align with each other. We don't have a project manager saying, what have you been doing? We're just having a conversation. Because we have a deadline tonight, we'll probably say to each other, should we not just quickly check in again at 12 for 1? Is that like, yes, let's do that. 12 for 1 comes, we go together. Nobody has to say we need to stand up. We go together and we align. I'm here. I might need you. Can you help me with that? You're saying, I struggle here. Oh, somebody else in the team. I've done that before. I will help you. That's a stand up.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, I have done this today. Tomorrow I'm doing this and there's no impediments. It's an event for the team because they want to get to know what each other is doing, because they need to, because they should work together on delivering. That's back to the culture of how a team works and how do they actually know how to collaborate. Look out for that pitfall, because if they don't do that, and that's why I started out right earlier saying I often actually cancel stand-up, because they first need to know how to work together before they actually have the stand-up. Also become micromanagers. What you then can do, if you still have the project manager, so I just want to cover that because that's where it often gets challenging, right? Because this project manager saying, I want a status. That's what the culture has forced him or her into. Understand, when does this person actually need? It can't be like the culture must be really bad if he actually needs to every day say what the status on the team is, right? Understand, okay, maybe every week he needs to get an update. Then work with that guy. What do you actually need? No, I just need these stories. Okay, can we set Jira up to give you that? What do we need? So we actually, the team help each other to achieve. The project manager's status report, it's also maybe an achievement for the team then. Make it transparent so you can help each other so it doesn't interrupt the daily stand-up. I hope that make...
Yeah, so adding to that, what you explained, so we can collaborate like that and doing the work, helping each other. It's a good way and it will be effective as well. So who can do well, like who is more talented, they can take those tasks and they can divide and do that. But when we do the tasks like that, how can we create a realistic and achievable sprint goals based on our team's capacity? How can we measure that?
I love that question, because again, it's a big anti-pattern we see in teams, because it becomes this, you have a backlog, right? Especially in Jira.
Yeah.
Now let's use Jira 7. The story lies there. It's not even product backlog. I said it's user stories. And then you go into the sprint planning and you take the first one and maybe even the product owner will say, these are the ones you have to do. And now the worst thing is if you then put names on them already there. That's not the right conversation to have. We need to be more flexible. But the challenge, let's go 2 steps. Where does this come from? It again comes from we haven't changed the way we work. Because we're used to having, like, for example, business analysts do all the requirements, right? They come into the team and say, this is what you need to do. And the team say, yes, sir, I'll do it. Go down in the basement and do it. You're laughing, right? Because we can relate to it. We haven't changed that. Now we just put a sequence into it instead of changing. What I mean by this is saying this is not value driven. It's user story driven. It's requirement driven. The Scrum framework was not tend to be requirement driven. It was tend of being value driven. A good example. I love this one. I see a user story saying, as a user, I want to log in. And then you have a BA, a product owner, write these user stories. And they often struggle to fill in the why. Because it's also like, Bye, right? What's the value in it? And I struggle to do it. And the funny thing is, you struggle to do it because no user have never ever said, "Oh, I really want to log in." You write requirements into a user story framework. You could just in plain English, right? We need to log in instead, or we need a login page, right? That's actually what you mean. But now you try, because to be agile, you try to write it in a user story format. So now you don't understand the value in it. So now it just become a task to get done. What you should have done is actually, what is it the user wants? What is it they need for login? They don't like nobody. We all hate to remember passwords, right? We all hate to actually log in. What is it actually we want? We want our data to be secured.
Yeah.
As a user, I want my data to be secured so they don't get stolen. Wow, now it adds value to the user. Now we need to then have a conversation. Okay, how do we actually solve this? And again, that's back to collaboration. Many people work in the old way of saying, no, BAs need to write all the requirements. And they need to write the 500 documents before they hand it over to the developer. So the developer can't think. They get like, the button needs to be read. It has to be 10 millimeters, right? They're not allowed to think. So you take the engineering out of it. So we never become innovative. Instead of saying, let's bring the problem to the engineer that can think up the best solution for it. You see the difference?
Yeah.
So in the Scrum framework, with the sprint goal, it shouldn't be we need to create a login this sprint. No, what value do you want? You want to secure users' data. Okay, now we want to talk about how do we do this. Then we have one, it could be, let's create a login page with a username and a password. Now we start the sprint. We have the goal. That's adding value, right? It's not just a task. Now 3 days gone, now you come to me and say, oh, I've seen this new thing about where you can log in with your eye instead of a password. Wow, that sounds sexy. Should we do that instead? What we see in enterprise, this conversation doesn't happen. It's just you have to do this task, this task, this task, this task, so we can get to our sprint goal. We need to be constantly evolving to a sprint to the solution, but be aware we have a deadline coming up. That's the end of the sprint, right? So be flexible, saying, okay, let's make the best solution with the capacity, the time we have. Then you have a conversation, again, collaboration in the team, saying that will take much longer if we have to do it with the eye. Is there value in that? Put in your product owner. What do you think would be the best solution to the user? Will probably be the eye. Okay, but that will be that it will take 2 more sprints. It's a value enough for us to take 2 more sprints. No, it's not. Let's just go with the login, normal login. Okay, let's do that. Can you see how your sprint backlog can actually be flexible, but the goals stay the same? And this way you can actually, it's not about how many story points have you done. It's actually a matter of trying to solve a problem for a user in the best possible way with the time frame we're given. I hope that, again, and this, if you're used to work in the old way, this can be like, how are we ever going there? And that is actually the challenge. Companies don't change this mindset of the way of work because they want to add the requirements up front. That have a whole chain reaction when we now talk enterprise agility, because for us to change this way of working, you actually need to go back to see how is project funded, how are the whole company funding model set up. And that's where enterprise agile coach come in and understand, there's a lot of conversation when you turn agile, right? We walk away from projects to products. That's the enterprise agile's job, to understand those things. How would that work in the enterprise company where it's very much run by project and you get funded a project? To get funded a project, you need a big business case, which means you need all the requirements first. That doesn't drive agile behavior.
Yeah, interesting. So I also have written this user login, user story for many projects, but when we tell, just without telling that I want to log into the system or like that, when we say that we need to secure data, it actually adds a value, and that's good. Actually, I also have some thinking there now. Thank you, Malene. So another question, since you talked about the product backlog, how can we manage the backlog refinements? I mean, what are the effective techniques we can use for prioritizing the user stories in product backlog?
Prioritizing.
Yeah.
So I now I'm talking about from my product owner experience. I've actually been the lead product owner in a big
Mm-hmm.
um back in the days, and for I don't think I will get popular for saying it, but
Okay.
because there's so many tools and techniques to use to, like, I like to actually say ordering the backlog, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think a major skill set a product owner should have is logic, because you can use a lot of tools, but if you don't have logic, does this actually make sense? Like, there's no really better way to prioritize a backlog than go with logic. What I mean by logic is also the circumstances you're in. What would make sense to actually come first? So yes, there's a lot of the what's called the nice to have and all these many different frameworks. What I personally, back when I was a product owner, like to do is actually simple logic. We had to back then had to rewrite a big manufacturing and warehouse system from Delphi, old school Delphi, into .NET. And this is the project typical people will say it's a big bang thing, right? You have to develop the whole thing and then you have to release it. We actually managed to be able to every second week deploy a new feature. Yes, the user would have to work in two tools, but we would actually then take one tool away and put it over into the new system, and we deployed it, and they could keep working. And that, for me,
Mm.
it's not many frameworks that can tell you how to order a backlog like that. It's actually more logic. Look at the people. How do they work? What would make sense for them? How do you make it easy to them? Again, the understanding of people is a big part
Mm.
of Agile, right? Saying, like, what would add value to them? How would we do it? Then you can, of course, combine it with all the what I can't remember now, the wait, shortest wait. It's called job first. Definitely like something like that, right? I'm not good at names. Um,
Mm.
that's one of them. It's the I like the again, I forgot the name now of it. But the whole, like, actually nice to have, need to have, priority kind of that way. Put them into buckets. But personally, there's nothing that beat logic, in my opinion. Does
Yeah.
that make sense
Uh,
when I say logic? Like, look at
yeah.
the area you're in, right? What would make sense to do next? Because if you use logic, logic also come into technical debt. Like,
Mm.
no, sometimes it may not add value to the customer, because that's a challenge. Many think it always have to add value to the customer. No, sometimes you need by logic to do something. That's why we're ordering and not prioritize. Because prioritize, we focus on value, and many people have the wrong idea of saying we need to focus on value to the customer. So we'll prioritize based on customer, but then you will never get to a technical debt. You
Mm.
have to order, because then the ordering will be more logical of what is the most uh,
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. So, and when talking about AI and Agile, I believe AI can automate repetitive tasks in our Agile workflows, freeing up team members for more strategic work, as you told, for logical things. So, how do you envision AI and machine learning enhancing these Agile practices?
It's such a big topic. I have a wish, but I don't know. I
Okay.
hope, I don't know if it will come true.
Okay.
Um, I like. I do. Of course, AI can take over all the
Mm.
generic, and I also believe, like, if we keep working the way that I stimulated earlier, saying like somebody write the requirements, developers just have to do it, and then you actually take the thinking out of it. Means AI could take over that. If you tell them what to do, it will do it, right? That's what it's quite good at. So if you're good enough to write requirements, then why what should you use developer for? But where it still hasn't become, like, what I'm missing to see is how innovative is AI. So that's where we need to be in front, right? As you're saying, can it take off some of those uh, simple tasks so we can become more strategic. That's where it can't think beyond what we can give it, right? Maybe in the
Yeah.
future, but that's where it becomes scary. So again, if we change the way we work and become actually how Agile and the Scrum framework was tend to be, where we engineer solutions, then we still need engineers. But again, are we good enough to describe the problems? And that brings me, can I jump into a different topic where I actually think it actually stands also in our way? And it's actually the whole saying of we need to give the user what they want or what the customer want. I see many companies say that, right? Like, I am a big Apple fan, because they managed to give something nobody could think they want, because they were solving problems. They weren't giving, because I say, like, we look at a human saying, what do you want? Nobody knows what they want, or they can only think so far, right? They immediately come up with a solution that is based on what they've seen before, so they're not innovative. So if you like, I think it's a good story. I'm not having it correctly, so don't quote me here. But it's that whole thing, right? If like with the iPod back then, if you ask people what they want, they said, "Okay, we want something smaller, so I don't have to go with my CDs." That was where the Discman. What was it? Those square one that got made, right? Where there could be more music on. Like, nobody had the idea to think, I want a little USB in my pocket that can have all 1,000 songs. Nobody came up with that because it was innovative. You don't come up with a solution with that if you ask, what do you want? You come up with that if you ask, what is the problem we're facing? So yeah, a little side note. And I think on the AI, let's still see.
Yeah.
I think we are our worst own enemy as a human. So even either EA can become a great and powerful success, or we can really ruin it for ourselves. And that's actually the dangers I am afraid of for right now.
Yeah. So since you are working with different teams, can you share some best practices you follow up to keep the remote teams connected and engaged without losing the connections? Like, sometimes we, like, when we work remotely, we don't know what the other person is doing. We try to finish off our work and then to move to the other task. Sometimes the collaboration, that part is missing.
Well, there's actually many different techniques I try, because it depends on the team. Again, as a Scrum Master, I could never force things like this on people. I like to say, like, should we try? Could we try this? I tried this with the other team. Let's try here. Let's give it a try, and then we can change it, right? Because forced stuff never work with teams. So again, it comes up with the team. What does the team like? What I've seen when you remote, and what I generally also hear is that becoming the norm, right? If you're remote, you need to use more money and time on either bringing the team together or do like social activities through the week or so. I remember, so I'm based in South Africa right now, and the country was locked down for quite some time. And then me and my team were every Friday for 1.5 hours, we had a quiz time where it was always somebody's turn to create a quiz, and we were playing the game through one of these. There's many tools that can do it, right? I think we used a Hushlight. So it's this whole thing that they celebrate and stuff, and we became so into it and made so many awesome quizzes. That was really what worked for that team to have a bit of fun and connect. Before we get there, like, what I see with teams, work on the personal connection. So it's really money well spent for a company. If you have a remote team, use money to fly them all together, because there's nothing. So now I know, for example, you and me, right? This is the first time we actually see each other, have a conversation face to face, remote though. But if we didn't have camera on, it will just be a different conversation, where immediately if you see a person, it's the whole body language of those things, right? You tend to more connect with the person. That enhances even more if you're actually in person. So the first thing I would say is get that team into actually face to face, not just video. Get them physical to each other. Spend a weekend together. Talk about the private things, like Do you have kids, wife, whatever, right? Because then you have empathy more for the people going forward. It is such a well spent money, because then you also figure out what is good for that team for them to drive. That you can even, we do a lot of team kickoff where they create like the whole how do they work and all of that. That's best done in person. Create that atmosphere with them. We have something together, because then you can refer to that. It's like the best money spent for the remote team. Um, yeah, I think that's my one. If I have to sum it down for one nugget of a remote team, even if they're
Yeah.
based in the world, hey, around the world, like that's a big thing right now. Company has to use the money on getting these people together, because what you're saving on the long run with a well-functioned team, those money will come back.
Hmm. So, Malin, we discussed a lot about agile practices, implementations, and all. Since you are a director in the Scrum Alliance, I would like to know about the Scrum Alliance, and my audience will like happy to hear about the certifications and what kind of a value that has in the industry, that kind of things.
Yes, that stands closely to my heart. Not because I'm a director. I actually want to correct that. It's actually more because I'm a CST also. There is a big topic out there saying what is certification worth it? On the other hand, many people is also like our 2-day course can't do much. There's a lot of agile certifications out there. I think what makes Scrum Alliance different, and what was not everybody is aware of, is they're the only agile certification body that is non-profit. So what does that mean? That means like actually when you buy a Scrum Alliance certificate, the money goes into a company that used to grow the agile community. So you will see a Scrum user group all over the world. They are sponsored by Scrum Alliance. You will see regional gatherings. Yeah, go on Scrum Alliance website. It's all over the world. Also, they also sponsored by Scrum Alliance. So actually, if you pay a Scrum Alliance certification, it's not just a guy becoming rich. It's actually like the mission of Scrum Alliance is to make agile the way of work. So we don't even need to mention agile anymore. It's just the norm, right? That's what driving, and that's why my heart is at Scrum Alliance. The other aspect of it, if I can put it, I don't want to diss any frameworks. There's a lot of frameworks out there. There's plus minus with all of them. But with Scrum Alliance, to become a trainer at Scrum Alliance, you have to be one of the best in the world. Have to go through this massive process. So for myself, to give it an idea, it took 5 years to become a certified Scrum trainer. It's not like other certificates, like again, I don't want to bash any names here, but other trainers, you can actually do like a 3-day course, and then you can get give agile courses. So if you do a Scrum Alliance training, that trainer have gone through extreme to be like one of the best in their field, on knowledge, on experience, and being a good trainer. That for me really stands out. So if you say, many people say like, is it valuable? Personally, when I see on CVs, if I see a CSM, I know the quality of the training they've gone through. If I see one of the other certificates, they can be good, but I don't know what the quality was. And that for me, then it just becomes a certification for the certification. For me, the Scrum Alliance has a bit more quality behind it. Again, there's good trainers in all certification. I don't want to, when this come out, be like Scrum Alliance is the only thing. No, but I know that each trainer from Scrum Alliance has gone through a very deep journey. To give a little bit of an example to just understand how big it was, like I've been asked a couple of times if I didn't want to do a PhD. I say I did my PhD becoming a CST. Like people don't know how much work puts into that. I would combine it with saying it's the same level as a PhD. So yeah, I think like that for me makes the difference. In general, of certifications, again, that whole thing, you don't learn by 2-day training. No, but you get a foundation. So don't see it like, I think one of the most successful is the Certified Scrum Master course, right? Many people think like, oh, I go over in this 2-day course and I'm the Scrum Master. It's just a 2-day course. Sorry, man. Like you can't learn the whole thing, right? what is good with certifications or the training. I'm not married to the certification, I'm married to doing training, continuous learning, right? It's saying there's no such thing as a Scrum Master education at the university, right? So how do you actually get the knowledge? Well, it is to do different courses. So I also won't lemon saying like as a Scrum Master or product owner, you should no, you shouldn't just do one course. You should actually do many. You should understand the different frameworks. You should understand the different tools and practices. So it's actually not let's just do one course and then be done. No, it's a journey of learning, and a lot of certification can help you on this journey.
Thank you, Malene. It inspired me as well. So I was also thinking to do these Scrum certifications at Scrum Alliance. Now your speech, your introduction made me inspired actually to do
That's
that.
good to hear.
Yeah. So
look out for also. So what many people, sorry if I could just, what many people think, right? If you do the CSM, look out for like the Scrum user group around in the world. They're not just about Scrum; it's about Agile. So in any country you're based, now I'm in South Africa. We have a massive Agile community where we help upskill each other. That's actually sponsored by Scrum Alliance, and I know that basically in all countries around the world they have that.
Yeah. So there are Agile trainings and all. So yeah. So as we come to the end of our today's discussion, what key takeaways you can give from our discussion we had today to anyone into
sum it up.
Yeah, summary. Some advice with your experience and expertise.
Transformation is not happened overnight. It takes time. The one step in the right direction is understand the value and principle and let that drive you. Because just doing as a checkbox will never make us agile. And we've seen way too many of that. Like it's the root to a lot of disasters. And so remember the principle and value and let that drive you in anything you do, because then there's no right or wrong. If we know the value of what we do. I think that's the sum up.
Thank you very much.
And last comment, it's always about the people. Like my favorite quote is saying, look after your people, they will look after your company. For me, why I do this job, why I get up in the morning is to help inspire people for a better tomorrow. Yes, I can't change the world, but can just change something for some individuals. That's a success for me.
Yeah, that's a great idea and vision. Thank you very much, Malene, for connecting with me with a quick notice. Actually, we had, and this is the first time we are meeting face-to-face as well. It was really nice conversation, and hope I can catch you for some future discussions as well. Since this is a big topic, I tried to take some of the things I can take with the conversation we had. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Have a nice
It was true pleasure. And you, hey? And you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me in today's discussion. I hope you enjoyed a lot and you learned a lot about what Agile practices, challenges, certifications. I'll be talking about this further, so stay tuned with my video series. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget to like, comment, or tell about the topics you want to discuss, so that we can drive this into a more valuable direction. Thank you very much.